Tessa Dooms on Power 98.7, 6 to 9 a.m.
Luckily, we do now get to have that conversation that we want to have around land reform, because the minister has joined us. Thank you so much, Minister Mzwanele Nyontsho, the Minister of Land Reform, for joining us this morning. Minister, it has been reported that in the past financial year, 2024-2025, that our government has spent over 200 million on land claims. What is the profile of that spend?
Let me greet you and greet your viewers. I'm not sure whether I'm in the right place, but
listeners.
Yes. No. I'm not sure where. Then maybe I must give you right figures that land report that we spent on land reform in the past financial year.
Yes. So
I think that will help us.
Yes.
I just want to be accurate, but on land reform we spend more than 2 billion, but it's 200 million.
Okay, just break that down first.
In the last financial year,
You spent over 2 billion. You're saying?
Yes.
How was that broken down? How many claims did that cover?
It covers the financial compensation, and then it also covers the compensation, the purchase of land. That is compensation to the previous owners, and then compensation to the land claimant, those who prefer land over, those who prefer money over land.
So how many claims were actually paid in this year? And also, are you saying the Citizen report is wrong when they say it's about 217 million?
No, they took just one part of it. In fact, I want to give you what I call the actual figure.
Okay, yeah.
Firstly, in the last financial year, were allocated 3.5 billion overall.
Okay.
As restitution.
All right.
And then we spent 2.8 billion.
Okay.
And out of that 2.8 billion, 222 million purchased land, which is what I think that's what the citizens
okay.
Saying. Yeah, we purchased land with that 222 billion, and 1.2 billion was the financial compensation.
So how many claims did that settle?
Yes, in the past financial year, we settled 288 claims.
So over 288 claims, you're saying that we spent as taxpayers 2.8 billion.
Yes, in fact, we finalized 378. We had 339 as a target. But then we ended up settling 288. So
287.
378 was the finalized claims, but settled one with 288.
So
that's what.
Maybe just Minister, just let's slow it down a little bit, just so that our listeners understand. So in these processes, 288 claims were settled. And you're saying that we then paid, are we saying that 2.8 billion was paid to farmers to purchase the land? Or are you saying that 2.8 billion was given to these claimants as part of settlement? Which one is it?
No. 208 billion was the overall expenditure. 3.5 billion was the allocated fund for the department. And then 1.2 billion then was the financial compensation.
Minister, because we got to you a little bit late, are you able to stay with us after news, just so that we can get some clarity on how these processes have worked so far? I think it would be really important for us to do that. I just want us to take the news, and then we'll come back straight to you. It's 7 o'clock time for the news. The time now is 7:09. You're on Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms. Still on the line with us from before news is the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Affairs, Minister Mzwanele Nyontsho. Minister, just getting back to our conversation. So, just for the clarity of our listeners, how much was spent on purchasing land to settle land claims in the last year?
Let me break it down for you.
Yeah,
I'm saying as the land restitution only.
Yeah,
we had a budget of 3.5 billion. That
Okay.
is the overall budget.
right.
And out of that, we could not spend the whole budget because there was this corruption in Eastern Cape, and then we had to change the payment system.
Okay,
So we ended up spending 2.8 billion. That
Great.
is financial expenditure overall.
and so that overall figure, what does that include?
And let me break it down for you.
Mhm.
That overall figure, 222 million, purchased the land.
Sure, purchase land in order from people who owned it in
From
order
people who
to,
own it, yes.
because
from
that was
people who
land that
own
was
it.
claimed on, yeah?
Yes, where the land was claimed on. Yes, now you are right. You're getting me.
Yeah.
And then out of that is 1.2 billion paid directly to claimants. That is to people who claim the land. Those who preferred money over land.
Got you.
Those, for example, who claim land where the land is not restorable. Say, for example, somebody claimed the town,
Right.
or the community claimed the town.
Yeah.
You can't remove that town. You talk to them, you give them options. You say we can give you money, we can give you land. That means the department must go and identify land for you somewhere.
Sure.
But then they would say no, we need financial compensation. That's
Sure.
1.2 billion.
So, Minister,
And then
just the breakdown there. So there's 287 claims that were settled. Do you know how many claimants got land from the land that was purchased versus how many claimants took the 1.2 billion?
That needs one to go back to figures there.
Okay.
But there's a lot. For example, only this past week in Umtata, we paid for example, we restored 6,400 hectares
Okay.
to more than 1,500 claimants. So I'll have to go back and get all of them.
All
For
right.
example, in Mpumalanga, we restored around 18,000 hectares in one day next to Kruger National Park. So I'll have to add all of them now.
Okay.
But that takes us to 288 settled.
Settles claims.
So then that was 1.2 billion financial compensation,
Yeah.
and then 60 million rand was the development support grant.
And this is for those who got the land parcels that we
Yes.
paid about 200
Those who
million
got
for.
the land, those who got the land, for example, this coming weekend in KZN, we'll be giving them land and support development grant.
Got you.
Which is they must work the land and make sure that we train them how to work the land. We train some they take their children to universities, to school, to study how to so that these farms do not collapse after they are transferred to black people. So that's what happened with our budget.
So thank you for that, Minister. That does help us a lot.
Okay.
You know, in the international
But that
arena,
information you're wanting, I can forward it to you because
that
I
would be
have-
fantastic. We would appreciate that.
Yeah.
In the international arena right now, the narrative around expropriation without compensation is the big talking point after the Afrikaner 49 have now landed as refugees in the US. But this is a year-on-year spend that we have in the billions. Giving settlements to claimants, yes, but also buying land from farmers, buying land from people who've owned them. Traditionally and historically, these would be white people who had owned this land over time. Yeah. What do we say to the international community to dispel this myth that somehow there's land grabs happening in South Africa?
Firstly, you are right, my sister. Firstly, there's no genocide in South Africa, and the Afrikaners know. Secondly, the Americans, with one of the powerful intelligences of the world, they know exactly that there's no genocide.
Yeah.
They know exactly that there is no farm grabs here. In fact, my sister, let me say, from 1994 up until now in South Africa, this department spent 26 billion on land purchase. That means this 26 billion went directly to the previous owners, the white people.
Yeah.
And 27 billion to claimants. Now, which means
people have made money.
They've made money, and there's compensation. There's no stage where I had this question in Parliament last week that I must identify a farm where I've ever expropriated without compensation, or even ministers before me. And that never happened.
No, and I appreciate that clarity, Minister. And I think it is part of the narrative that we need to start as South Africans. These are big numbers. And so if you are there in the TikTok streets and you're having to fight for your country, tell them that 200 million was transferred into the hands of people whose land was expropriated. It was with compensation in most instances, in fact, in all at this point. So I appreciate, Minister, for that you clarified at least what those numbers look like and what they represent. That is Mzwanele Nyontsho, the Minister of Land Reform and Rural Affairs.